I carefully climbed through the window. If my mother sees me as a guy, I'm finished. There were footsteps outside the door. I jumped into bed and pulled the covers over me. But my mom didn't even come in, just shouted that she was going on a business trip again. After divorcing my dad, she worked all the time and didn't care about me, and I still wanted to talk to her heart to heart as it was in childhood. The only thing I still had was volleyball. I trained myself for many years. I decided that I would become the best. And a week ago, I was lucky. The principal brought legendary Terrence Smith to the school meeting and announced that he would be our volleyball coach. Smith said he was missing one player on the team. Everyone in the hall whispered, because the students became the best volleyball players. I was determined that the place on the team would be mine. But it turned out that Smith only trained guys. It really pissed me off because I was the best player. Well, if you need a guy, okay, I'll change into him, take a place in the team and become the captain. The selection was tough. I was nervous, and the wig was constantly slipping on its side. There were only two of us left, me and the nasty guy Nick. He took me for a rookie and said I might not even hope to make the team. And then our names were called. Well, let's see who's rookie. I was uncomfortable in my men's short, and the bandages I'd wrapped around my chest got into my skin, but that didn't stop me from beating Nick. And when he left the field, he hissed that he would take revenge on me. But I was no longer listening to him because the coach was walking towards me with a serious face. Suddenly, he smiled and said that I had passed the selection. Yes. Then the team captain, Evan, approached me. All the girls at school were crazy about him. To me, he was just a cocky jock. I would only be too happy to remove him from the captain's chair. Evan congratulated me dryly, but Smith said there was no time to talk. The first practice session would start right away. It turned out that he brought some friends from the state volleyball team to train us before the competition. If you lose, you have nothing to do in this big game, Smith said. During the set, I gave my best along with Evan. He played well, but we still didn't score a single point. At timeout, the boys lied that Evan was asking too much of them. And I decided that I should win the guys over to my side by giving them a break from training. I blurted that in my previous team, the captain always threw cool parties to relieve the tension, and supposedly my friend Alexis was having a party this Friday. If we win, I invite everyone. It was risky, but Mom was away for the whole week. The guys cheered up and we smashed the opponents. Everyone was excited about the party, but Evan didn't like it. He said briefly that he would drop by if he was free and left. Yeah, he obviously didn't like me as Alex. Let's see what he would say about beautiful Alexis. She would be able to find out all his weaknesses to remove him from the post of captain. On the day of the party, the entire volleyball team and Evan showed up. He was clearly in a bad mood. And among them was Nick, the guy from the qualifiers. I was about to protest, but the guy started asking me where Alex was. I did not lose my head and said that he was just late. Evan's expression darkened at the mention of Alex and he walked away. While everyone was dancing, I carefully sat down next to him and asked him why he was so sad, but he didn't answer and began to shower me with compliments. That was nice, of course, but right now, I needed to find his weak spot. Not flirt. I asked if he was just not ready to compete. Then Evan sighed and said that he thought he would soon be moved from the post of captain by an upstart. It's about me. I mean about Alex. Evan said volleyball was all he lived for. His voice faltered. Evan's mom was seriously ill, and maybe she didn't have much time left. Only training saved him from heavy thoughts, and recently, he promised his mother that he would become a better captain, no matter what. It blew me away. I suddenly realized that we were very similar to him. After all, volleyball was also my salvation from problems. But we were interrupted by the cry of someone from the team. Hey, we need to call Alex. He can't ignore his team like that. The phone immediately rang in my pocket, and they all stared at me. I lied that I wasn't feeling well and quickly ran upstairs. I rushed to my room and the phone kept ringing. If I dropped a call, the guys would definitely not forgive Alex. What should I do? I decided to change into Alex. I washed off my makeup and put on my pants and wig, and suddenly the door opened. Nick stood in the doorway. What the hell? He asked me what Alex was doing in Alex's room. I replied that I wanted to appear spectacularly and rolled down the banister from the second floor. Nick grinned enigmatically and left the room. I went to the mirror to adjust my wig and was horrified. A lock of my hair was sticking out from under it. If Nick noticed, I was finished. As promised, I made a spectacular descent from the banister to the first floor. And the guys from the team met me with deafening cheers. They said that the party just rocked and were very grateful for the invitation. But at that moment, the front door opened, and I saw my mother on the threshold. She didn't recognize me as Alex. My legs couldn't move in terror. I had to get back into my clothes as soon as possible. While my mother kicked everyone out of the house, I hurriedly pulled on a dress in the bathroom and then went out to her. She started yelling that I was a bad daughter and didn't appreciate what she was doing for us. For this party, my mother punished me and transferred me to homeschooling. While she worked all day in her room, I couldn't go to training now, and the competition was coming up very soon. What to do? I let everyone down, but suddenly, on the day of the game, Evan called me. He said they couldn't do it without me. I was dumbfounded, so, for the sake of the team, Evan overstepped his pride and called his competitor Alex. I stood for a moment in a daze, but then I came to my senses and decided, now or never. I climbed out of the window and ran to the guys. I ran into Evan outside the locker room and just wanted to thank him for calling, as I was surrounded by guys that led to the coach. Hey, what are you doing? They shoved me into his office and Coach Smith told me even though I had been away for a long time, they had decided by a general vote that I was the new team captain. Oh my god, I've been dreaming about it! But then I met Evan's eyes. He lowered his head and silently went to the field. There was a woman in a wheelchair in the front row. And Evan went over and hugged her. It was his mother. She had come to see him, despite her illness. My stomach clenched. I wish my mom was supportive too. When the game started, Evan missed almost all the balls and constantly looked back at the first row, and then I realized that for the two of them, volleyball was more than a victory. Maybe this was their last moments together. Then I decided to screw up the first set and show Evan's mom that he was really a great captain. I sidelined the strongest players and put the weakest in the attack. The guys started making mistakes, and we quickly lost. The team was indignant. The coach told me off and put Evan back as captain. He just lit up. Under Evan's leadership, we quickly rallied and defeated them. While the guys were celebrating, Evan took me aside and thanked me. He knew I'd done it on purpose. But why? I said I wanted to be a captain. But I was sure I still had a lot to learn from him. During the award ceremony, the audience chanted the name of our team. The guys were cheering. And I was happy that I helped Evan. The referee had already picked up the cup and went to the microphone when suddenly, Nasty Nick appeared on the field. He brazenly and unceremoniously snatched the microphone from the referee and loudly declared that the attacker Alex was a liar. The guys looked at me in disbelief, and I cringed. What was he up to? Nick lunged at me and tore off my wig and shouted, "It's a girl!" Evan and the entire team froze in shock. I didn't know where to hide. The judge cleared his throat and said that our victory was annulled due to a violation of the rules. The audience booed and started throwing cans at me. I couldn't hold back my tears anymore and ran away. After this incident, Smith was fired and I stayed at home all day. But one night, someone rang the doorbell. It turned out that Coach Smith came to my house. It was so unexpected. He said that he now worked at another school and offered to become the captain of his women's team. Smith was training girls now and said I was the one who inspired him. I didn't know what to say, but suddenly my mother came out to us. She came up to me and gently hugged me. She heard Smith's words and said that she would support me if I decided to continue training. I almost cried with happiness. It had been so long since we hugged. My mother apologized for not paying attention to me for so long. She regretted it once. She also did not apologize to my father, and he left forever. She didn't want to lose me. As soon as the coach left, I rushed to school. My mom helped me understand that it was never too late to ask for forgiveness. When I ran into the gym, the guys were already going home. Among them, I saw Nick with equipment and a bag of water. I called the guys and said I needed to apologize to everyone, and I understood that I would never regain their trust. But being part of their team was the best thing that had ever happened to me in my life. I started to leave, but Evan stopped me. He said he wasn't angry. He was actually delighted with my bravery. The guys applauded and said that they wouldn't have won without me anyway. After 6 months in Coach Smith's team, I became captain. Evan's mom was on the mend, and he and I hung out all the time. Thanks to the support of my loved ones, I will win many more victories, and I will definitely never feel alone again.